Hi, I'm Bethany Wilson with Doggercise Dog Training. I am going to show you guys how to teach your dog to drop it. You might have taught him how to play fetch, and if not, check out the link right here. But once the dog gets back to you with the toy, they have to be able to drop it. And this is something I'm really strict about with my dogs. It's just my own personal ideas on the matter, that I want to have control of their bite, basically. Doesn't matter the breed. I'm going to be working with a Shih Tzu here, so the breed is really irrelevant. It's really important to me to be able to control my dog's bite. So I'm going to show you the two ways that I always use when teaching dogs. Some might have certain behavioral issues where I might not be able to use one method, but these are the two basic ways. It's like my go-to ways of teaching drop it. Okay. Way number one is the number one method that I use. It doesn't involve treats. The reward is the ball itself. They drop the ball, and the reward is they get to go chase the ball. That's the method I prefer. However, sometimes, especially when working with puppies, I'll incorporate treats, which is the second method. Sometimes it helps them understand it much quicker. Usually, if I'm working with a dog that's 8 months or older, I try not to incorporate food because they're usually so food driven that the treats matter more than the toys, but it really just depends on the dog, so I'm going to show you both methods. And then I have a third, which is basically the emergency method, the method where you're walking out the door in your really nice dress and your Labrador Retriever decides to clamp down on it and doesn't want to let go. It's an emergency method. It's only able to be used with dogs that don't have any biting issues or edginess when it comes to being touched around here. So that's really important to note, okay? All right, let's get started. This is 5-month-old Shih Tzu Zoe. So I really get her going. I get her tugging because she'll start to growl, which I just want you guys to be able to hear. Now I'm tugging and then I stop moving. See, she's confused. She starts growling, pulling, and I'm trying to hold it as steady as possible. It's important not to pull away, because if you pull away, you're actually creating drive. It's like, you know, when a dog gets a hold of an animal out in the wild and they start to fight them, it actually increases drive. It's just an instinct, even though Zoe's not hunting any animals. It's just an instinct. So, very good. Really important not to pull away. So as soon as she dropped it, I say drop it. So I add the word to the action. And then the finger pointing is just a style of mine. As soon as she drops it, I say yes, and then I reward her by chasing it again. So I stop moving. I'm very patient. If this was a bigger dog, I'd probably use 2 hands to hold it as steady as possible. And I just wait. Also with bigger dogs, I'll stand up when teaching this. So you're trying to work it out. I love it when dogs work things out on their own.
Drop it. Yes.
I mark that behavior with a yes or good dog, something like that. I always use marker words. My dogs know that if they hear the word yes or good, that they did something right. And that's important to me. I love being able to mark good behaviors, especially with puppies. Boy, they're all over the place. They don't know when they're doing something good and when they're doing something bad, so marker words are important in this. So I'm just getting her geared up again. Now this is only our 3rd time doing it, and watch. I hold still. She's thinking about it.
Drop it.
So that was a tricky one because she was gnawing on it. But as soon as she opened her mouth and really let go, that's when I say drop it. I add the word to what she's doing. Now, if you don't want to add the word in the beginning, that's fine. They'll start to associate you holding the toy still with letting go. And then once it's really consistent, you can add in the word. Now, I know a lot of trainers are really strict on the, don't name it till you love it idea. And I do that as well, but with a young puppy like this, it's not a big deal to me as long as I'm adding the word when she's doing the action. Now, if I was working with a dog that had some behavioral issues, that was older, and they're not even really listening to me, they're just watching body language, then I would wait to add in the word drop it until I got some consistency. But Zoe's learning, and she'll pick this up right away. Now, notice here, I wanted to show this as a mistake. notice how I was holding it further back and she was able to pull it. So then I have to grab closer. No, especially a big dog, you can't let them have that leverage. They're still getting to have too much fun.
Drop it. Yes. Good girl.
Okay, we took a short break before we tried the other method that I wanted to show you, which is the treat trade. So I'm wiggling it, and then I put the treat in front of her nose so she can smell it. Yes! And then I give the treat. Now, she takes forever to chew it. I found out she's picky about her treats. But I'm still going to show this one because it was the very first time that she did it. She's very treat driven, but she's also very play driven. But you'll see it gets harder for her to get into play mode. Now, really important on this one, I always use treat pouches when I train my dogs. It helps them focus on me, but not doing this. And the only reason is just because they will get all about the food once they see that treat pouch, and they won't care about playing.
Drop it.
Yes. And give
Good
treat.
girl.
Very good. Yeah, she picks up quick. And most puppies do. Now this time I'm going to try to hide it by my side a little bit, be a little bit more discreet with it. But a lot of dogs, not all dogs, but a lot of dogs, when they see that treat pouch come out, they won't even play. And see, I'm having to work harder to get her into play.
Yes.
Yes, and
Good
give
girl.
treat. So as soon as she drops it, it's the same thing. I say drop it, yes, and then give treat. And I just kind of combine methods here too. I'll hold the toy still, then pull out the treat, just like before. Don't be waving the treat around or waving the toy around when you pull out the treat, just to stay consistent. See, she's really having trouble wanting to even hold on to the toy now.
Drop it.
Yes.
Yes.
So as soon as she sees my fingers come out, she knows that there's food in there and she drops it. So this is a really quick way for puppies. Sometimes it gets larger dogs too excited. You know, you really just have to know your dog or know the dog that you're working with, and you could try different methods. That's absolutely fine. So I bring out a new toy. Ooh, it's much more fun apparently.
Drop it.
Drop it.
Yes.
Yes, and give treat. Okay, so I just want to mention probably the biggest complaint that I get about this method using just the food-based treats is the inconsistency that can occur with using food. So it's really important that for the first several days of doing this, by several I mean 4-5 days, you need to always have treats on you. You don't always have to reward with a treat once they get it consistently, but you always need to have them on you, because if they start to learn that they won't always get food in the first few critical days of learning drop it, they will become very inconsistent. And you have to keep in mind that even though you can filter out food really quickly to the point of not needing it within just a few weeks, every time you teach this in a new area, you're going to need to not start all over again, but you are going to have to be consistent all over again. So whereas with my dog, maybe I can just use kibble in the living room when I'm teaching, and then in the backyard I might need an actual, soft dog treat. And then when I go out into the field, like go to a park or something like that, I need really, really good high value stuff to be able to drown out all the noise around me. And by noise, I just mean stimulation, all the sights and smells, and if there are other dogs or other people. So you got to be really consistent in the beginning when you start working your way through all the stimulus that dogs have. So you want to teach in a controlled setting without distractions with food. And it doesn't matter what age your dog is. That's really important. But just remember, every time you go to a new environment, until they really generalize the command, or they're dropping it like that without any problem in maybe 3 different parks and a few different homes and in the backyard and in the front yard, you're going to need treats on you. That's the tricky thing about using just this method. My opinion is to use both. I like to use both. Even now, my dogs are older. When I take them to the park, maybe every 4th or 5th time when we're playing fetch, I'll bring treats. It just adds a little bit of fun and a little bit more motivation. This is after about a half-hour break. We're adding sit. And I'm giving her a little bit more time. I want eye contact. See that eye contact? And that's when I throw it. So I'm actually marking her letting go as well as the sit and the eye contact. So here I do it again.
Yes.
And then I throw it. So you want to lengthen the time. You don't want them thinking that as soon as they drop it, they go after it again. That happens if you get those dogs that immediately go after the toy as soon as they let go. And that's because you're not challenging them like this to wait longer periods of time. So here I do a little block. You don't have to do that. I just want her to know that this toy that's on my knee is mine, not hers. And look at her thinking, trying to figure out what to do, and she does it on her own. I don't have to tell her to sit, and that's how I prefer it. I like dogs to figure things out on their own. It builds confidence, and they're not always looking to me in every little situation. They can become balanced dogs on their own instead of nervous-oriented dogs that always get spoon-fed all the answers. They can think on their own in situations, which is what you want. Okay, so a little bit more advanced doggies. This is Charlie. Notice how I am not actually putting my fingers deep into his mouth. I don't want him to chomp down on my fingers if he decides to chew on the ball. So you just kind of have it on the outsides when you're holding it. But when you're training this initially, I highly recommend using a ball with a rope on it. You can get them anywhere. Once they learn the word, you can start just saying drop it without touching the toy like this. Now notice sometimes with Happy, I'll be holding the toy and say drop it, and sometimes I won't. Mix it up. Once they start to learn what it means, mix it up. And then sometimes, especially with driven dogs, like this little one right here, once they've got their basics, start adding in fun stuff. Give them more to do. It really challenges them mentally. And I love having them wait while I throw it and then giving them permission to go get it. So he dropped it here out of habit, no cue, and I'm waiting for eye contact, and there it is. Number 3, the emergency drop it. Warning, only do this with dogs that you know aren't going to turn around and bite your hand, because that is a risk. I only use this if a dog that doesn't know drop it gets a hold of something that I need ASAP. We worked with a dog, for instance, that was eating socks. She had to actually go through surgery because of it. She would make a beeline for socks to eat them. So things like that. These are the ideas. So you're going to cup your hands around the bottom of the mouth, and you're going to push the bottom lips over the teeth and add pressure. They don't like the feeling, and they will most likely open their mouth so you can get out what you need. I did notice it was hard to see on Charlie because he's missing a lot of his bottom teeth. He's a shelter pup, what can you say? But that's what I'm doing. So just to reiterate, you're pushing their bottom skin, their bottom lips, over their teeth and adding some pressure so they have to let go. And you can see it right there. The other way that's really simple is to just get your thumb underneath their tongue and put a little bit of pressure there with your finger underneath and your thumb under their tongue. They'll open their mouth because they don't like that sensation. You can even try it on yourself. Just put your thumb underneath your tongue. It's all soft in there, and so if you squeeze it just a little, not enough to hurt, but just a little bit of pressure, most dogs will open up. Okay, I'm really sorry to do this again, but just to reiterate, this is only to be used as last-minute emergency type option. This is not to be used to actually teach drop it. I actually get questions about this a lot. Well, what do I do in the meantime or until I can trust them to drop it? This is it, as long as you're not worried about getting bitten. You can also, if you have time, run to the kitchen and get a treat. That's not what I would do, but if you're not comfortable with this option, that is definitely a good option for you, is to run and get a treat to have them drop it. And don't use this if they've picked up food outside or something, just really for cloth. You know, pillows, clothes, baby toys, things like that. Back to cuteness. If you have any questions, you can email me at info@doggersizela.com. Also, check out our website, doggersizedogtraining.com, or subscribe here, and you can check out all of our videos.